Good morning and welcome to the Daily Light Devotion. I hope all of you had a wonderful Sunday and looking forward to the second week of September. I'm recording for the 8th of September today, and the devotion today is God's protection purpose in opposition. We're looking at Acts chapter 22, verses 22 to 30. Now, here, Paul boldly shares his testimony after encountering the mob and what happened to him after he encountered Jesus. But the crowd responded in a very hostile and negative way, right? And the moment he mentioned the word Gentile, there was an uproar again, and the situation became very tense. And we see God's hand of protection over Paul's life through the Roman citizenship. These verses remind us that following Christ will often bring opposition, right? But God equips us and defends his people to accomplish his purpose. Verses 22 and 23 says, they listened to him until the word, and they raised their voice and said, away with such a fellow from the earth, for he is not fit to live. Now, the crowd was enraged at the idea that God's grace extended to the Gentiles because there were mainly Jewish people there, right? And so, what the gospel does, it confronts human pride and prejudices. It challenges deeply held beliefs or barriers that others have because of the religious spirit. um, Verses 24 and 25 said, as they bound him with thongs, Paul said to the centurion who stood by him, is it lawful for you to scourge a man who is a Roman and uncondemned? Um, Paul used his Roman citizenship not for his personal comfort, but to continue God's mission, right? That God had given to him. And sometimes God places us in positions or gives us resources that become tools for the gospel's advancement. And that's why Paul questioned the Roman soldier. Now, verses 26 and 29 say, when the centurion heard that, he went and told the commander, saying, take care what you do, for this man is a Roman. Then the commander came and said to him, tell me, are you a Roman? He said, yes. The commander answered, with a large sum I obtained this citizenship. And Paul said, but I was born a citizen. Then immediately those who were about to examine him withdrew from him. And the commander was also afraid after he found out that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. Now the centurion learned Paul was a Roman citizen. He quickly informed, you know, the commander, and they withdrew from punishing him because Roman punishment was very, very tough, right? So God, uh, you know, he has authority and sovereignty over the earth, right? He's top of the food chain. He can he can turn the heart of the rulers to protect his people and his mission, like here he's doing towards Apostle Paul. Verse 30 says, the next day, because he wanted to know for certain why he was accused by the Jews, he released him from the bonds and commanded the chief priests and all their councils to appear. Even in the conflict, God had kind of was you know was planning and I wouldn't say controlling, but God put that situation in favor of Paul, and he was building a platform for Paul to testify before the leaders. And usually, opposition becomes an opportunity for the gospel, right, to reach higher levels of influence. Now, so what are some of the life applications? Don't be surprised when we are obedient to Christ. Opposition is stirred up. Truth often provokes resistance because it challenges the people, and it makes them believe that, okay, I have to reach another level, right? I have to reach their level. So they start condemning us, right? And especially for the gospel and for, to become a believer, to be a follower of Christ, we are always going to face opposition because we have an enemy who is always working among others who are not walking with Christ, right? We need to recognize the resources, positions, and right God has given us so that we may serve his purpose. Like Paul, yeah, we need to trust God to work even through earthly authorities to protect his mission. See challenges not as roadblocks, but as platforms for witnessing. And remember, God's purpose for our life cannot be stopped by human opposition. Um, in the closing, what I would say is that Paul's life shows that hostility cannot silence the gospel. Even in chains, God was giving him a stage or a platform, right, for Christ to be magnified and glorified. The same is true for us. Our difficulties may actually be the setting for God's purpose to shine. So be encouraged today, if you're facing challenges because of the gospel, because it is a place where we can magnify Jesus. I hope you have a wonderful Monday and I will see you tomorrow. God bless each one of you. Bye.